The future of gun shows in Del Mar is unclear after the Fairground Board decides to postpone future events. Want to follow the money in local elections? We'll show you how. And the return of an iconic San Diego movie. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The Del Mar Fairgrounds Board of Directors has voted to postpone gun shows. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us the move also directs staff to look at the future of gun shows at the fairgrounds.
It's an issue that's been boiling over for months in Del Mar, and now the future of gun shows are uncertain. The Board of Directors just finished up a meeting here that lasted over 4 hours. There were lots of people who came to voice their support and opposition for the Crossroads of the West gun shows. The Del Mar board listened to over 100 people during public comment. The board decided to postpone the gun shows for up to a year while it looks at different ways to have them at the fairgrounds. The board wants staff to see if they can host educational gun shows that don't include actual guns or ammunition. Board President Steve Shoemaker says the notion that gun shows have not had any problems during its 25 years in Del Mar simply isn't true.
We've had actually 2 meetings with DOJ. And there have been a number of arrests, felons in the possession here on the fairgrounds, sending their wives and their girlfriends in to buy ammunition and guns here at the fairgrounds. A number of arrests. In fact, I think he said one particular Saturday a year or 2 ago, there was 4 such arrests in the parking lot. Is that safe? I don't think so.
On the other hand, James Miller with Cajon Valley Union School Board of Trustees says the gun show is one of the only safe places to get familiar with guns.
And you look at movies and you look at television, you're not learning how to properly and safely handle a firearm. Conversely, if you go to a place that has actual real-life training, real-life understanding and education components, you learn that it's not mythical, there's no mystique behind the firearm, it's a tool.
Miller has gone to a number of these gun shows here in Del Mar. In fact, it's worth noting there are still 2 more happening this year, one later this month and another in December. Then staff are going to have to come back to the board with recommendations of what the future of gun shows look like in Del Mar or at all. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
More than 1 million people in 3 states are evacuating ahead of Hurricane Florence's potential historic landfall later this week. Erin Calandra has this update.
Good evening. All eyes are on Hurricane Florence, and they should be. This is a very powerful, dangerous storm, and it is heading straight for the U.S. Right now, winds around 130 miles per hour. That makes it a Category 4, and it's heading to the west-northwest at 17 miles per hour. Here's the track. We expect it to reach the Carolinas, most likely North Carolina, Thursday into Friday, and at this point could be a Category 3, potentially Category 4 as it makes landfall. Now in the red, this is where we could see the landfall, likely north of Wilmington, but that could change. So anywhere in red here is where we expect to see some of the worst conditions as far as damaging winds and also flooding. Up to 40 inches of rain could drop with this system. So historical rainfall, damaging winds, even some isolated tornadoes. It's going to be absolutely devastating for millions of people. Stick with AccuWeather for updates. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
The debate in the Sweetwater School District over paying trustees for meetings they've missed while claiming hardship continues. iNews Source reporter Megan Wood has more.
Sweetwater board member Nicholas Segura recently missed a meeting because he was in Sacramento lobbying for his labor union and dining with Democratic governor candidate Gavin Newsom. Segura asked to be paid under the district's hardship rule for the absence, but that irritated taxpayers at a board meeting last month. Eventually, the decision was delayed until last night. That's when the school board voted unanimously to tighten its rules for when trustees can claim hardship. It's also when Segura changed his story. He now says he never asked to be paid for the meeting, and he blamed a district employee for putting it on the agenda. iNews Source found Segura has been paid for 5 meetings over the past 2 years when he cited a hardship. He says that won't happen again.
And going forward, I will not seek compensation for a single meeting that I miss. So I'm happy to say that. And again, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Now let's continue to work for the benefit of our students with full accountability and transparency. Thank you.
That didn't satisfy everyone. Several taxpayers say the board still needs to define what's a hardship. So expect the debate to continue. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Megan Wood.
A San Diego philanthropist has donated $13.8 million to chip away at a persistent problem in the county: poor access to childcare. KPBS education reporter Megan Burks says the gift will initially add more than 300 new preschool slots.
Those slots will be offered in the North County. The fund will also help a preschool in Chula Vista expand and a nonprofit add childcare for its employees, a movement to inspire other employers to do the same. Access to such care can lead to better academic and employment outcomes later in life, but a recent University of San Diego study found the county lacks licensed childcare for more than 65,000 children. That's where donor Guy Klum hopes to make an impact. Katie Rast is with the San Diego Foundation, which is administering the fund.
He, I think, really sees that there is such a potential for positive impact in this time in people's lives and in this space regionally for all San Diegans.
The foundation expects to fund even more programs in the future through this gift. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
Following the money, that's something we like to do here at KPBS, especially around election time. This year, our partner, iNewsSource, has built a tool to empower you to follow the money on the city ballot. iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano explains.
iNewsSource launched a new searchable database today that makes it easy to see who's spending and raising money in San Diego city politics. So if you want to check out who's behind the 2 ballot measures to redevelop the former Qualcomm Stadium site, we have you covered. Here's how it works. We can search for Friends of SDSU, the group that wants to turn the land into a western campus for San Diego State University. And then we can filter by contributions and sort our results by amount to see who's given the most money. Here we can see that Terry Atkinson, who's a retired investor, gave $100,000 in December. Now let's take a look at the donors to Soccer City, the ballot measure to turn the land into a pro soccer stadium. We can just search for their committee and then sort our results to see who the biggest donors are. It looks like Michael Stone, the managing member of FS Investors, has given 2 large donations of more than $300,000. You can use the database the same way to follow the money in this year's 4 city council races. To try it out for yourself, go to data.inewssource.org. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. There were somber ceremonies in New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and around the country today to mark the anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks. 17 years ago, nearly 3,000 people died when hijackers flew passenger jets into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Shanksville. National City firefighters remembered those who were killed in the line of duty that day.
It was a very, very dark day for all first responders and all Americans in general, but specifically first responders, because we lost so many policemen and so many firemen that went in, and they actually saved thousands of lives, which kind of gets lost in translation sometimes of how many people they actually got out before the buildings came down.
San Diego helped to keep a promise to never forget at the USS Midway.
Lieutenant Paul Thomas Michael, Battalion 1. FDNY Chaplain, Father Michael Judge.
This is one of the biggest September 11th memorials on the West Coast. Retired firefighters from New York, the Wounded Warriors Project, and community members met on the flight deck today. One retired firefighter from New York what it was like to wake up on that day.
So I remember my friends. For me, today is about remembering the friends that were lost. I mean, three close friends of mine I knew before I was even a fireman were lost, and another 30 guys that I worked with that I either was trained by or worked with or were new from the fire department, out of the 343 guys. And they took a lot of the best of us.
This is one of the biggest September 11th memorials on the West Coast.
I'm William Brangham. Tonight on the NewsHour, we're on the ground as more than 1 million people are ordered to evacuate the Carolinas ahead of Hurricane Florence. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Trump administration is moving to roll back Obama-era rules on methane aimed at preventing leaks from oil and gas facilities. The EPA released a proposal today doing away with some of the required inspections. The agency says the change could save $75 million a year. Governor Brown fired back today in a statement. He said this is an insane and borders on criminality. It also said to deal with climate change, we need to reduce methane. In San Diego, Assemblymember Todd Gloria talked to KPBS about the major climate emission bill that was signed into law by Governor Brown on Monday. He also talked about the city's climate plan and a major summit happening this week in San Francisco.
It's hard to overstate. I mean, this is a big deal. This was a historic act by the state of California showing its commitment to fight climate change. And there have been previous standards of 20%, 33%, 50% renewable, but this is saying that we're going to empower the entire state with clean energy by 2045. It's a big deal, and it's one that I think that we can actually achieve.
But have no illusions. California and the rest of the world have miles to go before we achieve zero carbon emissions. But you have to begin. You have to get something done.
Well, San Diego just chose to act sooner. When I served on the city council, a confluence of events, I ended up serving as mayor for a short time, and I used that opportunity to really make a strong statement about climate change, and was able to convince the entire city council, Republicans and Democrats, to buy into that vision, to support that vision. And here we are, 5 years into this plan. We've made some progress. We need to make more progress. But I think in order for the state to get to 100% renewable energy, it will take cities of all sizes across California pioneering technologies, trying new things out. I believe San Diego can be a test bed for some of that work. I believe as a consequence we can meet our goals for our climate plan on the earlier timeline and potentially enjoy the benefits of that kind of early investment, early research, early job creation, and ultimately help the state achieve its new goal, which is about 10 years after San Diego's goal. Climate change has real costs. They may be direct, they may be indirect, but it's costing all of us a tremendous amount of money. So I think that this is not just an important and reasonable thing to do for our climate and for our environment, but it's very necessary for our economy and for taxpayers who are currently bearing the full cost of climate change in all the ways that it impacts neighborhoods.
We in California and in states all across America believe it's time to act. It's time to join together, and that's why at this Climate Action Summit, we're going to get it done.
We have to come together. This is not a California challenge. This is not an American challenge. This is a challenge for all of humanity. And that's sort of the notion behind the summit, what collective action can do to stop climate change is what this is all about. And importantly, within a context of making very, very clear that while the United States may have exited the Paris Accord, California is going to continue on this path, and we expect others will follow. I think the United States' current hiatus from climate sanity really is personality driven. And I think we all expect that whether that's 4 years or 8 years, it's only temporary. Meanwhile, California and San Diego can be working aggressively and creating the kinds of plans, programs, technologies that other communities can benefit from when the United States comes back to its senses and starts asserting itself once again as a leader on this issue. I'm glad that we're doing this because clearly Mother Nature is not taking a hiatus in climate change. We are seeing it all around us with devastating effects. I'm mindful of the fact that a good chunk of the eastern seaboard is currently battening down for a major storm. The evidence of this is all around us, and what we're doing is helping, I think, to blaze a trail that some will follow us now, others will follow later, but everyone will undoubtedly walk down this path because we have no other choice. The implications and the effects of climate change are going to be unsustainable, and we must do something about it. I'm just happy to be glad to live in a city and a state that is doing something about it.
The Global Climate Action Summit begins tomorrow. Former Secretary of State John Kerry, who negotiated the Paris Accord, is set to attend. Plenty of sunshine and warmer temps expected here in San Diego as Hurricane Florence aims for the East Coast. Aaron Calandra has the full forecast.
Well, I hope you were able to enjoy your day today. The weather here in San Diego, not bad. We don't have anything happening here on the satellite, the radar. It's quiet, and that's how it looks across the southwest because high pressure in place. Plenty of sunshine for everyone. We do have that onshore flow that is creating a couple of clouds in the morning, but that's going to weaken throughout the week, which means temperatures are going to jump up a bit by the weekend. For tonight, Oceanside 63 degrees, Chula Vista also at 63, and Borrego Springs reaching 71. Again, along the coast, you'll notice a couple of clouds. Here in the metro area, we'll reach 63 degrees for the low temperature. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine once those clouds break up. Chula Vista at 76 and San Diego also 76 degrees. In Mount Laguna, just a bit cooler in the mountains, 76 and hot in the deserts, 105 with blazing sunshine. Now, all eyes are on Florence. It is a very powerful hurricane and it is heading straight toward the Carolinas. Millions of people, or at least 1 million about, have been evacuated so far, and we'll continue to track that as it becomes closer to the Carolinas. But for us in the southwest, it's going to remain dry, pretty pleasant, again, getting a little bit warmer. So here we are for the extended forecast. By the weekend, we'll be up to the 80s, plenty of sunshine, great conditions to get out to the beach or the pool. Inland, looking good, although Friday's going to be pretty warm, up to 91 degrees, sunny conditions. And then in the mountains, from the 70s to 80 on Friday, and then dropping right back down to those comfortable 70-degree temperatures. In the deserts, we are in the triple digits every day. So make sure, if that's where you are, that you are staying nice and hydrated. Ebony, back to you.
Top Gun 2 is set to film in San Diego later this month. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh went to some of the potential locations to find out why the Navy wants to work with the filmmakers.
Back in May, Tom Cruise tweeted a photo of himself on a tarmac at Naval Air Station North Island, holding his iconic helmet, showing that the filming of Top Gun 2 was on. The San Diego Film Office confirms that some of the principal filming will happen in San Diego beginning later this month.
I feel the need.
And going on into October.
Need for speed.
We don't know all the locations, but the Navy has confirmed that some of it will happen here at Naval Base North Island.
Production is underway now and will occur for the next several months at a number of installations on the West Coast. As far as which actors or which bases, really not at liberty to discuss. Okay. But Tom Cruise was here in May aboard Naval Air Station North Island, and they did some filming here. And I believe that there will be more filming in San Diego proper as well as here at North Island.
Top Gun is legendary in the Navy. When it came out in 1986 during the Cold War, it was a boost for Navy recruiting. Which is why the Navy was interested in working with Paramount on the sequel. It comes at a time when the Navy is actually looking for pilots.
It's sort of a no-brainer for us to support this movie. The original film back in 1986 was an iconic film in Americana, and it provided a huge boon to recruiting, not just for naval aviation, but for the Navy as a whole.
In exchange for their cooperation, the Navy has to approve the script. Final approval came last week. Some of the more testosterone-driven elements of the original film won't likely make it into the sequel, like the open flirting during pre-flight training. Hollywood won't let facts get in the way of a good story. The actual Top Gun school hasn't been in San Diego since 1996, and it was never at North Island. It was on Miramar, now home of the Marines. Though filming is going ahead, the actual release date for Top Gun 2 has been recently pushed back from next year to June of 2020. From out here on Coronado, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
When a pet is diagnosed with cancer, treatment comes with a hefty price tag. From NJTV News, reporter Lauren Wanko shows us the nonprofit that helps cover their medical care.
5-year-old Katie happily takes treats from her parents. They're all celebrating. The lab mix is now cancer-free.
She's my little sweetie pie. We go on walks, we play, we do everything.
Mom Pam and Dad Fred remember getting hit with the horrifying news last summer after doctors found a tumor on Katie's leg.
It was a gut punch, and it was tough. It was hard to hear.
Along with tests, Katie had surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. The price tag for their 4-legged family member's treatment without insurance?
The amount that we were paying was about $17,000 in a couple of months time frame. It's just so much all at once.
Which is why the couple says they were grateful to learn about the Brodie Fund, a nonprofit dedicated to offering financial assistance to pet owners whose cats and dogs are suffering with cancer.
We call it giving the gift of time. We can help them. If we can help them financially, why not? You know, I mean, as long as there is a good quality of life for the animal, why wouldn't you want to help?
Founder Sally Williams named the organization after her beloved cat Brodie, who died of cancer in 2016. During his radiation treatment, she spent every weekday at the animal hospital, listening to other pet owners try to come to terms with the sad news.
And you'd hear these conversations about, okay, we just got this diagnosis, our dog or cat has cancer, the treatment is this much. How do we do this? And what are our options?
Which is why the animal lover created the Brodie Fund. In the past 2 years, the nonprofit has awarded more than $35,000 in grants. The recipients don't have insurance for their 4-legged companions, and pet owners must supply their financial information on the online application. The Brodie Fund relies on grants, fundraising events, and donations.
It took away some of the financial anxiety and let us just focus on Katie as a patient.
Almost half of dogs over the age of 10 will develop cancer, according to the American Veterinary Medical Association. AVMA says there's less information about the rate of cancer in cats, although some cancers are more common in cats than in dogs. Veterinarian oncologist Dr. Kendra Pope started caring for Katie after her cancer treatment. She says pet owners can learn from the animals battling the disease.
They don't know what's going on. They don't carry the burden. They live in the moment. You know, they can teach us so much about just day to day.
So far, the Brodie Fund has awarded more than 20 grants to cats and dogs like JD, which they provide directly to participating hospitals throughout New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. JD was diagnosed with cancer about 6 months ago. Doctors discovered a tumor on his leg, and he received $1,500 from the Brodie Fund.
These are your best friends, you know, these are your children. He's my son, technically, you know, so when someone can come in and help you get them better, it's priceless.
9-year-old JD is taking an oral chemotherapy drug. Mom Gina Caputo says she's happy her boy is getting the care he needs. Sally loves seeing the dogs and cats who benefited from the grants.
To meet the animals that we've helped, I mean, you can't help but want to keep doing this and grow it.
She hopes to one day expand the nonprofit nationwide. As for Fred's hope for Katie,
I hope she gets to chase as many squirrels as she wants and chew things and break stuff. She can do whatever she wants.
She's got a free pass for life.
Absolutely.
In Red Bank, I'm Lauren Wonko, NJTV News.
You can read more about the Brodie Fund at njtvonline.org. Groceries delivered by car and no driver needed. There are companies working to make that a reality. As AP reporter Terry Che explains, they haven't managed to get robots to do all of the work.
Maureen Blaskovich is trying out a new grocery delivery service. The groceries aren't unusual, but the delivery vehicle is. This car can drive itself.
Ordering the groceries online and having it delivered is definitely a plus, and I think the newness of having an autonomous car do the delivery is something that people will want to try.
AutoX, an autonomous driving startup, just began offering the delivery service to residents near its San Jose office. Engineers still ride in the vehicle, ready to grab the wheel if there's an emergency or the car gets confused.
We're offering two kinds of shopping experience. Either you shop online and have it delivered autonomously, which means lower cost for you. Or when the car pulls over, you can select and shop from the mobile store in the backseat window.
AutoX is just one of several companies seeking to make autonomous delivery a reality. Grocery giant Kroger is working with a company called Nuro to test driverless delivery at its Fry's stores in Arizona. And Google's self-driving car company Waymo is testing a similar service with Walmart stores.
You don't have enough drivers anymore. And drivers are expensive. I think only with self-driving cars, we can make on-demand economy work.
Maureen Blaskovich sees the potential in the technology.
Kind of like the old days when you'd get the milkman and the bread man come by the house, a little mini grocery store come by, and you could get items that you need without having to go to the store.
Freeing up more time to sit back and relax. Terry Che, Associated Press, San Jose, California.
Now here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, cracking down on virtual peeping toms in South Korea. The new calls to stop the sales of spy cams. And on Midday Edition, a political family dynasty in California. Meet the Pulitzer Prize-winning editor behind the new book, The Browns of California. Next time on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.